What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here again today, fresh off my first day of college, and I got a class later today. So, overall, it feels like high school 2.0, but whatever about that. Cristobal Huet, that's the career video we're doing today. Haven't done a goalie in a while since Craig Anderson, and I think we've only done, this is the third goalie I think we're going to do on this channel. Tony Esposito, Cristobal Huet now, and Craig Anderson. He's a 2001 7th-round pick, 214th overall by the LA Kings. For a 7th-round pick, you get 272 games out of him. Not bad. So, he doesn't make his debut until 2002-03. 12 games played, 4 wins, 4 losses, 1 overtime loss/tie, 1 shutout, .913 save percentage, and a 2.33 goals against average. This is also the height of the dead puck era, so that's save percentages and goals against averages that's pretty normal, especially for a rookie. That's pretty average. He does not make the playoffs. LA is not in playoff contention at this time in their history. 2003-04, he plays 41 games then, 10 wins, not almost said goals, 10 wins, 16 losses, 10 OT losses and ties, 3 shutouts, .907 save percentage, and 2.43 goals against. No playoffs again that year. However, during the summer before what would have been the 2004-05 season, on June 26, 2004, Cristobal Huet and Radek Bonk are traded to the Montreal Canadiens for Matthew Garon and a 2004 third, which would be Paul Byer, going back the other way to the LA Kings. Montreal wins this trade, and it's not really close. Because Garon eventually ends up in Pittsburgh. He wins a cup there. But Radek Bonk was a solid player, and Cristobal Huet was an up-and-coming goaltender at the time. 2005-06, 36 games played with the Canadiens, 18 wins, 11 losses, 4 OT losses and ties, 7 shutouts. Yes, 7 shutouts, which is second in the league that year. A .929 save percentage, which is first in the league that year. And a 2.20 goals against average, which is 4th in the league that year. In the playoffs, he makes his debut. 6 games played, 2 wins, 4 losses, .929 save percentage, and a 2.33 goals against. That was the series where Cam Ward came in with the Carolina Hurricanes after Montreal won the first 2 in Carolina. Ward then stopped them. They did not win another game after Ward came in. 2006-07 is another pretty good year for Huet. 42 games played, 19 wins, 16 losses, 3 OT losses, 2 shutouts, .916 save percentage, and a 2.81 goals against average. Montreal does not qualify for the playoffs that year. I believe they lost on the last day of the season pretty sure Toronto knocked them out on the second last day, and then Toronto got knocked out by the Islanders on the last day. That was a really close race in the Eastern Conference that year. But he also goes to the All-Star game. He's the All-Star candidate for the Montreal Canadiens. 2007-08, in what would be his final partial season with the Canadiens. 39 games played, he goes 21-12-6 with 2 shutouts, .916 save percentage, and a 2.56 goals against average. However, the Montreal Canadiens have a new guy that's coming in. His name's Carey Price. They also have another guy. His name is Yaroslav Halak. And that eventually kind of pushes Huet out of the circle there, because Price would end up taking the reins as starter. And he's traded to Washington at the trade deadline on February 26, 2008. Washington at this time looking for a reliable goaltender. And he has his best stretch in his career with Washington. In 13 games, he goes 11-2. His save percentage is a .936. His goals against average is a 1.63 in the live puck. Well, not live. It's kind of medium puck era. He had 4 shutouts that year, which was 9th. He had a combined .920 save percentage. That save percentage went way up once he went to Washington, and that becomes 6th. And then his goals against average, I believe, goes to I believe it was 2.20 maybe around, which was 10th in the league that year. 7 games played in the playoffs because it's Bruce Boudreau at coach at the time, and they're eliminated in Game 7 overtime against the Philadelphia Flyers. Joffrey Lupul gets the winner on Huet in overtime. 3 wins, 4 losses, .909 save percentage, and a 2.93 goals against average. His performance there earns him a solid paycheck because he did just have 32 wins that year, with having only 14 losses and 6 overtime losses. That's a pretty solid record. So Chicago signs him to a pretty big deal. Now, Javi Bulin is going into his last year of his deal, and he's also an older goaltender. Huet's a younger goaltender for sure, but it's a very interesting move because Chicago signs him to a pretty hefty deal. And in 2008-09 with Chicago, he plays exactly half the games with Javi Bulin. 41 games played, 20 wins, 15 losses, 4 overtime losses, 3 shutouts with a .909 save percentage, a 2.53 goals against average. 3 games played in the playoffs, goes 1-2 with a .910 save percentage, 3.29 goals against. He wouldn't have played those 3 playoff games, however, Javi Bulin did get injured in the conference final against the Detroit Red Wings, so Huet went in for games 3, 4, and 5. Even Corey Crawford got some time in that game 4 when they got shelled 6-1. But, yeah, so the deal doesn't look too awful. I mean, it's not where he was up here with Montreal and especially with Washington, but he's got another year to prove himself in 2009-10, where Javi Bulin leaves as a free agent, so he is the full-time starter with Niemi as the backup. 48 games played during the season, 26 wins, 14 losses, 4 overtime losses with 4 shutouts, an .895 save percentage, and a 2.50 goals against. What's wrong here is that Chicago was the 3rd best team in the league. So what it's showing is that the goaltending was failing when they were losing games. It was the goaltending that was really sinking them, and it was their talent: Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Marian Hossa, Patrick Sharp, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Nicholas Jarmelson. All these guys were really preventing them from losing games and keeping the pucks out of the net. He goes in relief 1 time during that playoff run. No wins on the record, no losses, and a perfect save percentage and goals against average. So that would end his career, as he would leave, and I don't even believe he was bought out. I believe they mutually terminated the contract, so I'm pretty sure it was a 4-year deal. It was 4 years, I think $15 million, or was it $22 million? I don't remember how big the deal was. But 272 games played in his career, 110. I didn't even mention how on February 26th in 2008, when he was traded at the deadline. I'm sorry, guys. He was traded to Washington. But what's funny is what Montreal got in return. A 2009 second-round pick, which would become Jeremy Morin. Jeremy Morin is everywhere, guys. If you saw my Jeremy Morin career video, go watch it. He's a very interesting career, that's for sure. But, yeah, Jeremy Morin, another trade he's involved in before his career even starts. Obviously, that pick ends up in Atlanta. But anyway, 272 games played, 129 wins, 90 losses, 32 overtime losses and ties, 24 shutouts, .913 save percentage, which is 35th all-time, 2.46 goals against, which is 27th all-time, 17 games played in the playoffs, 6-10, 6 wins, 10 losses, with a .918 save percentage and a 2.68 goals against. So not the longest career. He did play 7 seasons in the NHL. And he won a Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010, as Niemi had taken over the reins by the time the playoffs came around. And, yeah, he played in the German, French, and Swiss leagues after his time in the NHL. He's currently a goalie coach in the Swiss League, the Swiss Elite League, the NLA. I know it's the NLA. I'm not sure which exact league that is. I'm not familiar with the European leagues. I only know they exist. But, yeah, that's going to be all I have for you guys today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me down below if you remember Cristobal Huet and if you have a fond memory of him or something like that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.